Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Dubai World Trade Center, a very warm welcome to everybody who took time off their busy schedule to participate in CABSAT's first live webinar. As all of you know, CABSAT, the region's leading show for broadcast, satellite and content, was postponed to the 26th to 28th October 2020. And we do hope and look forward to seeing you at the event. In order to shorten the time a little bit until we can see each other again in a real life environment, we have taken the initiative to start CABSAT.virtual. CABSAT.virtual is a new platform that shall give you and us the opportunity to continue conversations and to stay connected during these difficult times through webinars, interviews, industry talks, and other ways of communicating online. We hope that you will enjoy today's webinar, but before I hand over to Laura, our moderator for today, I would like to take the opportunity to thank all frontline workers on behalf of Dubai World Trade Center for their efforts to safeguard the health and safety of global communities. So huge thank you to our frontline heroes. And now it's my pleasure to hand over to our moderator for today, Laura Buckwell. Laura, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much. Yes, the screen is mine. Thank you very much, Thomas Loeffler there, the Assistant Vice President of Exhibitions at the Dubai World Trade Center. And a huge thank you to you and your team for creating such an essential platform for us to continue essential conversations within the industry. So thank you so much. And well, yes, ladies and gentlemen, a very, very warm welcome to you all. As a quick introduction, my name is Laura Buckwell and I will be your moderator for the next hour or so. Well, in the first of many upcoming live webinars, we're going to be discussing today some of the unexpected opportunities that have arisen within the digital media landscape. Today's session will focus on the huge rise in appetite that we're seeing in video on demand and online gaming subscriptions and viewership since the COVID-19 outbreak. To give you a little bit of perspective, we've actually taken the liberty of putting together some recent findings for you. Take a look at some of these numbers. Now, a slide should be coming up right now. So as you can see, Netflix added 5 million paying subscribers every month in the first quarter of 2020. For the first time ever, streaming movies will now be eligible for the Academy Awards. Disney Plus paid subscriber count has surpassed the 50 million mark. Twitch has streamed a record 1.1 billion hours of content for March this year alone, while a recent report also found that VoD usage of all types increased nearly 30% year on year for the month of March. And finally, forecasts suggest that coronavirus will boost global SVOD subscriptions by 5%. Some very interesting findings there indeed. So while you will digest those latest figures, and just before I introduce you to our panel today, who I think you can see just at the top there, I'd now like to quickly draw your attention to a few housekeeping rules. I mentioned a few earlier, but if you hadn't joined by then, as you can see at the bottom of your page, there's a Q&A function. That's all for our attendees. Please do get some really good questions going for our panelists. That's where you can also upvote questions at the same time. So the most popular questions we're going to be asking our panel just in the last 15 minutes of our discussion. Please do get that going. We also have a live chat function, which I see a few of you have been able to use as well. That's just at the bottom of the page next to the Q&A button. So please do feel free to network and introduce yourselves by name, company, and country or region. And please feel free to just add to the conversation there as well. And we also would like to make today as interactive as possible. So we're going to be rolling out a few polls for our attendees. You don't have to do much. All you have to do is wait for the poll to pop up on your screen, answer just with a click, and then we're going to be revealing those results live as well. Also, just in case some of your questions are not answered today, please do feel free to email us. You can email us at cabsat@dwtc.com. And finally, please do feel free to use our handle across your social media at CABSAT Official. Right, well, as I mentioned, we have a really, really fantastic lineup of well-known industry leaders for you all here today, who are here to discuss the critical dynamics of digital media engagement before coronavirus, BC, and the impact after coronavirus, AC. And the big question is, with VoD and gaming consumption skyrocketing, how will platforms retain this spike post-quarantine? Time now to find out through our esteemed panel. Right, well, our first panelist today is Zahra Zayat, and she is the Senior Vice President of Telco. She is the Senior Vice President of Telco and OTT at OSN. Zahra has extensive experience in both regional pay TV and OTT. Under her new role, Zayat leads strategy within the digital and streaming business, in addition to business development and partnerships with major telecommunication players in the region. Zahra, it's an absolute privilege to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for having us today. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time and attending this webinar. It's we've been locked down for a long time, and it's good to have a discussion with everybody.
We're very much excited to hear what's happening at OSN as well.
Yeah.
Our next panelist is Nadine Samra, who is the Chief Business Officer for WIAC by Z Entertainment. And Nadine runs the Arabic digital business. In 2017, she launched WIAC.com, the Arabic OTT platform, with over 15,000 hours of Arabic and Indian content dubbed into Arabic. Previously, she was the head of digital operations at MBC Group. She's managed several exciting digital businesses and led them to success, such as Shahid.net and MBC.net. She was also awarded Digital Transformation Maestro in December 2018. A very warm welcome to Nadine there.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for having me here. I'm so excited to be a part of this webinar. I want to say Ramadan Kareem to everyone who made the time to come and watch us today and participate in this webinar. I hope we can share exciting information about what's going on and some insights for everyone.
Very much, very excited to see what's happening over at WIAC as well. I'm sure your numbers are through the roof at the moment. Next up, we have Sanjay Raina, who is the Executive Director of Commercial at Abu Dhabi Media. He was previously GM and SVP of Fox Networks Group, MENA and Pakistan. Now, his rich experience spans across consumer durables, entertainment, non-fiction television, newspapers, news television and pay TV and sports broadcast. An absolute privilege to have you here with us, Sanjay.
Thank you so much, Laura. There were some initial hiccups, I'm sorry. Ramadan Kareem to all. Beautiful time of the year. And unfortunately, yes, because of the current lockdown, we are all grappling with how to run our businesses in whatever way we can. So very exciting to see a lot of my industry friends here, and looking forward to this chat.
Really fantastic to have you here. And finally, our final panelist for today is going to give us a perspective on the gaming industry is Saeed Sharaf, the CEO of Esports Middle East, which is in fact the fastest growing professional gaming agency in the MENA region. He's also the president of the Syrian Esports Association and a board member of the World Esports Consortium. Saeed is an award-winning entrepreneur and visionary investor who is currently focusing on esports. Very warm welcome to you, Saeed.
Thank you very much, Laura. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here today. Thank you, Laura, and thanks to CABSAT team for this virtual webinar.
It was going to be fantastic to get your perspective on that segment as well. So yes, as I mentioned, a privilege to have you all here with us today to share your expertise and forecasts. As we mentioned earlier, coronavirus has shaken up business and consumer behavior in a monumental way. So I'd actually like to start off with how COVID-19 has actually impacted your businesses and online platforms directly. So why don't we start with Zahra? What's been happening over at OSN?
Yeah, thank you, Laura, and thank you, everyone. To be honest with you, despite the pandemic effect of the COVID-19, we have seen a significant uptake on engagement and hours watched on subscriber numbers as well. What people used to watch in 1 week or 10 days now is being consumed in less than a day. And these are the facts and the data that we see on our platform. For our business, Laura, all the stars were lined up for us, to be honest with you, because it happened with our launch of the new platform. It happened with the launch of the Disney Plus originals on our platform and the content boost. All of that was happening while the whole COVID-19 impact was also taking its toll in the market and people were locked down. So we have seen a tremendous uptake, and April has been our best month by far. Since the start of April till by the end of April, we've hit 1 million downloads in 1 month on our platform. The number of hours watched are 12 times more than what people used to watch back in March. And we've seen a significant uptake on certain genres, specifically in relation to family and kids. We've seen also new viewing hours rising among the day. So historically, people wouldn't watch TV during the day or during later hours of the night after 1 a.m. We have seen now engagement during these hours. Which is, for example, between 1 a.m. and even 4 a.m. now. And Ramadan came on board, and also we see a new trend now with Ramadan coming on board. So there is the COVID-19 impact before Ramadan, and then there is the COVID-19 impact with Ramadan taking place. Before Ramadan, it was a big focus on family and kids content. Now it's family and kids content is not enough because there is a huge uptake on Arabic content as well. So despite that, the engagement on Hollywood content continued to increase, but we also saw a significant uptake on Arabic content as well during Ramadan. This tells us that the people are there and they're hungry for content. They're ready to consume more content. COVID-19 has been good news for the world of online and e-commerce and OTT, despite the outbreak. So it has increased the awareness of people on the different platforms that are available in the market. So people who didn't hear about other platforms, now they look for content, they're hungry for content, they want to consume more. So they go and they subscribe to more than one platform. Now the majority of the households, I believe, have at least 2 subscriptions in their homes, and that's mainly on OTT. But what we have seen as well is that this COVID-19 impact has accelerated the trend that we were already expecting, and which is the trend of moving from the traditional broadcast TV to more consuming content on streaming services. Overall, it's been a great uptake on our platform on OTT.
Very good news for you. It really is. And so, I mean, what we're going to be discussing this a bit later, but, you know, how are you going to maintain those engagement rates? But hold off for the moment, because we'll be asking that a little later on. Let's first up see what's happening over at WIAC. Nadine, what's been happening over at WIAC?
So there's some type of a contradicting story when we look at Wayak, or I think on generally on all of the VOD platforms. So from one side, it's a good story to tell if you're just looking at the traffic trends and the unique users on the platform, the watch time, the sessions as well. From a business perspective, I think everyone is, if not, they're having lots of challenges, probably for the time being and maybe going forward. So there are a lot of things to discuss and share with you. The right place to start probably is with the viewership. In March itself, and to be very specific, on the 16th of March, we started to see higher traffic across the board on Wayak. So March by itself, we got 30% increase in traffic and 30% increase on the video viewing or the number of video views on a monthly basis. That's compared to the previous month and compared to March last year as well. So across the board, it's higher numbers. Now we go into April, and April as well, Ramadan was coming up and stuff like this. So April also, we got high numbers. Again, we look at 30-40% increase in a number of users coming to the platform and organically. Let me also specify that. Not coming from our traditional marketing, whatever marketing activities campaigns that we run, whether it's performance marketing or social media and other stuff like this. So from that point of view, yes, we've seen a lot of increase in the platform, and until today, because Ramadan is in, and normally in Ramadan we see a spike in traffic. From content consumption as well, on the sessions side, we started to see 50% increase on the sessions on Wayak per user. That's also a very big number. When it comes to the time spent on the platform watching videos, have also increased. So I'll just give you some figures. So prior to COVID-19, we still had high numbers, which is in Android and iOS devices. We used to average 55 minutes to 1 hour on average per user viewing time. When it comes to TVs and Apple TV, we were averaging around 120 minutes. Mm-hmm. Now, after the COVID, this trend has changed, and on the Android devices and iOS devices, mobile devices in particular, we started to see the average going into 1 hour and 10 minutes. And 1 hour and 10 minutes, it's a big number for the amount of users that we have and the amount of sessions we have as well. And it increased basically for all platforms. So again, from that perspective, yes, there is an increase there. At the same time, there are lots of challenges that we need to tackle from a business perspective. There are lots of changes that happened in that world. We can dig more into it probably during the session today. We can talk about the impact on sales, advertising, distribution, telcos, and all of the other parties that we were working with, we are working with, and what are the new opportunities that are there as well.
Yeah, I'm sure all of our attendees are going to want to know what the next step is and the opportunities as well going forward. Just very, very quickly, I've seen that, yeah, there is some chat going on. This is absolutely brilliant. I've seen as well, if you can see at the bottom, it says 2. And if you press 2, all panelists and attendees, if you could just click that button, not just all panelists, but all panelists and attendees, then you can write your message and then we can all see it. Otherwise, we can't see it. So please do make sure your setting is on all panelists and attendees. I'll remind you a little bit later of that as well. Sanjay, let's move over to you. Executive Director of Commercial at Abu Dhabi Media. What's been happening over in Abu Dhabi? Hello, Sanjay. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes.
So it's an interesting time for everybody in the marketplace, and whether we talk of Abu Dhabi Media or we talk of any other linear network or a streaming network, the story is the same everywhere. There has been a surge of viewership across platforms. So it's erroneous to suggest that it's only happening on streaming. Even linear networks have massively shown growth in their viewership. I mean, people have recorded more than 90% increase in reach, more than 54% reach increase in share of audience, more than 84% increase in TRPs. If you look at total TV during Ramadan, total TV used to deliver in the region of about 1700 TRPs. We are talking of 2700 TRPs, total TV. So where has that come from? It's people at home who are watching. So linear is seeing a massive surge, and linear is seeing a massive surge across the world, by the way. So people are staying home, people are watching whatever they want to watch. It's the remote which is helping them do that. What, however, is happening is there are business challenges. So is that TRP being translated into revenues? And I think that's partly what Nadine was referring to. So that whole dichotomy or a paradox is you have massive viewership, but is it translating into actual monies? That's not the case with streaming, guys, because you have direct carrier billings or you have a paywall, you pay and out you are. So that can be seen as a monetization, perspective. But when you look at linear networks, which are hyper dependent on advertising sales, and because of the current conditions in the marketplace, that advertising sale is not in commensurate with the surge in viewership. And that's affecting everybody in the market, be it in Middle East or be it outside. All linear networks, broadcast networks, are not able to keep pace with the viewership growth and translate that into money. So that's what is happening around.
It's going to be very interesting to hear what your sort of strategy is going forward, and the whole of our panel as well, and what makes sort of most sense. We move now to Saeed Sharaf. What's happening within the gaming industry then? Give us the lowdown.
Yeah, well, one region's loss may well become another's locals, as they say, and our numbers might be a little bit different than the gentleman here. So we have almost 300% increase in our social media interactions. Our demand on league operation has been, as I would say, never seen in the past 3 years. More brand investment. A lot of brands are willing to come on board, whether they are endemic or non-endemic. The content we create is now being requested by more TV channels and more non-endemic platforms, because they see gaming is well consumed by different segment of ages. And finally, the influencers marketing, which we ran, came to a new, I would say, a new pricing in terms of cost per video view. So let's say if we used to have 0.01, now we have 0.005, which is almost 50% decrease in the investment. So there's a huge potential to grow. Just the main question, which you later ask on, is how to maintain this success, and then how you can reinvest on what you have accomplished.
Wow, I mean, to be up 300% and you can see even more room for growth is phenomenal, Well, just before we move on to our first poll of the day, obviously the outbreak has forced studios to temporarily close their doors and the production of upcoming programs as well. So do you think there is a possibility of audiences getting a little bit bored of streaming platforms if there's no new content coming online? As none of us really know when these disruptions are going to end. So with productions on pause, is that going to cause quite a few issues down the line? Nadine?
Okay, despite the fact that we have a lot of content on our platforms, whether it's on Wayak or on Z5, but at one point of time, people want new content. And that's, by the way, that's the trend. I mean, on a monthly basis, the maximum views that we get is on the new content. Now, specifically, we are in Ramadan, and normally Ramadan is a season where people look for Arabic new productions, and that's what they navigate through the different TV channels and different streaming applications, and they jump from one to the other. Like you see some of Wayak's users going into different streaming applications just to fetch for that content, and then they come back to Wayak to watch the content that we have released for Ramadan, and so on and so forth. That's the current trend. But what's going to happen after Ramadan is that people are going to go back and look for new content, continue to look for new content, or titles, even if it's not that fresh, but titles which are for them new. So what I mean by this is the following. At Z, we do lots of productions, and we have a very big Indian library. And part of our USP in Wayak is that we get our Indian content and dub it into Arabic. So whenever I get a new content, which might be produced in 2017, 18, and then dub it into Arabic, that's for us is a new content. So that's very helpful for us because we still have exciting titles that we can bring into the market as new titles for people to watch. So from my perspective, there's going to be definitely an impact, but it's not going to be that of a huge of an impact that everyone is expecting. But of course, that's very specific to Ayak because we have a very specific USP, let's say, when it comes to targeting the Arabic audience. In my opinion, for other platforms, it will definitely impact that if they don't keep up with the productions and they come back into new productions very soon. From what I heard is that, and what I've seen so far as well, especially that we are doing also our original content production, that people started to roll their cameras in different places in MENA region, whether it is in Syria, Lebanon, and Egypt. People started to go back to shooting, which really eliminates the big risks that we are thinking about, that what if there is no new content coming up later on. That's from that angle, but definitely there are lots of variables that decide also about these productions, if they're gonna happen or not, like budgets really impact. So if I had a plan, or anyone else in the OTT business or in the TV business, they had a plan to produce, for example, 10 shows or 10 content for this year, I think their plans have changed now. So it's not about when are we going to go back to the shooting. It's about, are we going to still have the same budgets? Are we going to have the same business plans for the rest of the year or not? I think this is what's going to really be impacted this year.
Do you think it's more of a budget issue? Sanjay, what are your thoughts very quickly before we go on to our next poll? Do you think there are going to be a few problems down the line when it comes to production?
But clearly, yes, everybody is facing the same problem. I mean, let's talk about Hollywood. All scriptwriters have no work to do. Production houses are locked down. Actors are growing big nails. People are simply sitting at home and doing nothing. So if you don't have a production lot open, what do you produce? What do you show? Yeah, there are certain companies, without naming them, they have a big throughput of products and assets already done for next 6 months, 8 months, 9 months. So they may be safe to a certain extent. But linear networks always play grid-wise. You know, I have run a pay television business and a linear business now. We work grids. We work 3 grids a year. There is a Ramadan grid. There is a January grid. There is a September grid. And these grids get produced less before in time. That's just-in-time philosophy. Produce now, consume, and so on and so forth. And that's all gone for a toss around the world, not only in this part of the world. So it has to be creative. Yeah, I mean, we sit on tons and tons of content. It's 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 hours of programming that we have created over a period of time as Abu Dhabi Media. Will we be able to resurface all of that or some of it? One will have to do that. I mean, if there is no content in the market, the most intelligent thing is to look inwards and see what do I have and how do I kind of bring it up together. And you know, new bottle, old wine philosophy, or whatever, that new wine, old bottle, that has to somehow fit in. So we have to be creative. And this is the time when broadcasting industry, and when I say broadcasting, I mean across. I'm not dividing streaming and non-streaming. The streaming guys have a problem. They think they are a different industry. They are not. They're ultimately serving the same consumer. The fact is, we all need to be very, very intelligent in what we are doing, right? It's the same with gaming. You know, if the new games aren't released, young kids will kind of go, Ori, what is happening? Why am I not seeing new stuff? So new is not going to come for next 6 months. I can vouch for that. And we need to be very, very thoughtful and intelligent on how to rechurn our stuff and put it in front of the consumer. Yeah.
Well, how's that going to affect OSN? Because I know at OSN you do like to release content at the same time as in the US. You do that.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
So what happens now? Yeah.
Yeah. So till now we are luckily we've been fortunate enough to release content exactly at the same time as the US. We've done an assessment on when we will see the risk rising, and if the COVID-19 impact continues, then we will have a major issue after August. because we've lined up major productions to come into our platforms August, September, October, mainly September. So so if the coronavirus impact continues, then yes, it will impact the new content coming on the platform. We already have seen the impact in the Ramadan titles now, because usually the Ramadan series is 30 episodes, and the majority has been shortened into 12, some 15, some 24. So we had to go through stacking different titles just to fill up the grid for the 30 days of Ramadan Arabic content. So yes, this is happening, and this is a big risk. However, we are also blessed to have relationships with the majority of the Hollywood studios, and we've got a lot of content, so many hours of content. We've got over 20,000 hours of content. So we need to be smart about reviving how we push them again into the market, how we engage the public with them again, etc. And we need to bring out also other genres that haven't been watched before. And this is a trend that we see now. We see people experimenting and exploring content that has never been watched before, and we saw an appetite for it. So so we will have to continue to work with what we have, and see how things go. To be honest with you, it's a very uncertain time, and no one knows what's going to happen next. And I agree with Nadine, budgets might not be the same, and plans might not be the same as in terms of production plans. There is an assessment required of the overall economic situation on how would the economy come out of that COVID-19 situation. What's the impact on the budgets and on way forward. What we are now looking at as a plan B is basically utilizing our existing content. We've got new content coming up now every day, every week from now till August. But then after that, there is a risk. We're looking now into improving and enhancing our original production. So we're looking into producing content in-house as well.
Wow, that's very good to know. Very quickly, we're gonna have to move on to our first poll. Thank you so much for that. Saeed, I'm gonna jump to you after our poll. But let's see what our audience has to say. So what's going to happen now is we're going to put up our first poll. Now I'm hoping on all of your screens that's just popped up our first question, right? So, and the question is, which streaming platforms are seeing the most action in terms of popularity? Well, tell us your opinion in which streaming platform you think is seeing the most action in terms of popularity. All you need to do is click on your answer. Our panelists may not vote on this. So this is just for our attendees, for our audience. Please do check the box that you think is most fitting to the question, which streaming platforms are seeing the most action in terms of popularity. I'm going to give you a couple more seconds, just so that you get used to that. We've got a couple more later on. I hope that you have all cast your votes, because we are a little bit tight for time now. So let's check out those results. Let's see which streaming platform our audience thinks. There we go. Netflix at 87%, Prime Video 24%, Starzplay 5%, Shahid 9%, Wyack 5%, OSN 20%, YouTube at 58%, and Facebook 18%. Very quickly, I'd like one of our panelists to answer. Do you think that's pretty much expected? Was that quite an expected reply? Who would like to take that?
Let the streaming ladies not take that answer.
Maybe not, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. For me, it's very expected, by the way. First of all, the participants who are coming into the platform are from all around the world. And at the beginning, the first thing that you're going to vote for is the brand name that you know. And the most famous brand name for the video on demand, which actually seeing a lot of traffic, there's no doubt, is Netflix. So definitely Netflix is going to be there. And then depending on where the audience is coming from, what's their background and so on, they're going to start voting for the different platforms and based on their interests as well. So someone who's what I would expect is, for example, someone who is coming from, I don't know, Saudi Arabia as an example, they're going to be voting for 2 platforms, especially now in Ramadan. Any platform with Arabic content, they're going to be.
Yeah, only time will tell. Sadly, we can't ask all of our panelists because we do have to crack on. We are a little bit over time. But right, moving on to our next question, I'd like to move on to Saeed on this. Post-lockdown, how do you think these already tense pricing dynamics of the streaming industry are going to be put to the test? And also, what are your plans to make consumers spend maybe even more time in front of their screens? What sort of creative innovation are you working on at the moment?
Well, I think content is king. So if you have an engaging content with a good storytelling, with a high quality production, then definitely you are keeping those viewers with you. Now, the thing in video games might be a little bit different. So for example, when it comes to concert, like all offline event or live event has been canceled. But in the video game industry, Fortnite, which is a very popular game, especially if you have kids, I'm sure you heard about it, they hosted a concert inside the game for Travis Scott. And 12 million people attended inside the game. So wow. They created the 3D character of the musician. And not only the players who logged in the game were able to listen, but also to engage with him, jump around him in what was built like a huge 3D platform that he's signing on. So this type of innovative content can really bring new type of viewers on board. So if kids were only, let's say, joining to play, now their parents also are interested, like, who is this guy? Yeah, I like his music. So you are getting new customers on board, and you will retain them with more content collaboration you have. So Fortnite is very good in this. Let's say they are collaborating with X-Men, with Star Wars, with musician. They previously hosted Marshmello, his famous DJ. Other games are also doing the same. So it's about being innovative and about creating content that will attract people to your platform.
I mean, it really is the perfect time to get creative, of course.
Laura, I'll just give a small example. I mean, I'm sorry I'm stealing the cue there. I'll take you back to the example that has just happened and is happening in the market called India. Massive market, large number of people, various ethnicities, various linguistic groups. Way back in the 1980s, rather 1990s, very early in the 90s, India produced 2 major magnum opuses, which were based on 2 basically very famous stories. One is Ramayana and one is Mahabharata. These are very central to the Indian culture, right? Some of you may have heard about it. So these were rehashed recently by the state broadcaster called Doordarshan. And it has seen the whole country is tuning up and watching these series. This is exactly my story. And this is exactly what I'm trying to say, that we all need to be intelligent. The point is, even if it was a normal market, will a company have continuous amount of money to keep looking for live productions? Let us not spoil the consumer for long. I mean, content is the king, but let's not play with the consumer in the consumer's mind, all the time, because that kind of disturbs your entire apple cart. You got to see what you have as your strength and play to that gallery. And of course, listen to the consumer. This whole Ramayana and Mahabharata story in India, it's become a case study now. It's become a pure case study.
Very interesting. And so, well, Zahra and Nadine, what sort of creative innovation are you working on? I mean, we sort of touched on it strategy-wise, but is there anything you can sort of tell us that you're working on? Zahra, why don't you go first?
Yeah. So we are looking actually to developing content that is engaging with our customers. The idea is that if we want to become a true entertainment platform, we've got to be a one-stop shop for entertainment, and entertainment means so many things. And this is currently sort of the project we're working on. we're looking into engaging our customers by producing content that interactive, that they can speak to us through the different social media platforms. They can interact with our platform by integrating with the different social media platforms to sort of improve the engagement on the platform and to increase the appetite. We're also looking into, hopefully in the future, we're looking into consolidating gaming, music, etc. On the platform. This is crucial so that we capture the real meaning of entertainment. What does entertainment mean? This is pretty much it from a production point of view. It's always bringing to the customer content that he wants. People are looking after content, and they don't care whether they go to Netflix or Amazon or OSN or React. They go and search for the content, and then they will download the app that has the most relevant content to them, and then they will start jumping from one platform to another. Where you capture the customer is and the subscriber is by becoming part of his lifestyle, engaging with him and becoming part of his life every day across each and every different step, tackling for his entertainment needs throughout the day, whether it's content, whether it's music, etc. So it's really being next to your subscriber, next to your customer, every single step throughout the day. We're mixing now long form content, short form content as well. We're looking into so that we capture a different segment in the market, and we've seen huge traction on the short form content, specifically from the younger generation. We're not yet in the sports world, not in the coming year at least. But the way we engage with our customers is through putting up content across different genres. And now, hopefully, we will try to speak to our customers through social media, through Facebook, through Twitter, through YouTube, and engage with them there by speaking to them with the way they want to interact with us.
Very, very quickly, because we would love to actually hear from our audience, of course. So I've just got a couple more polls. So the next couple of questions, if we could just keep them concise, and we can move on to our audience, because it's 2:45, or nearly 2:45 now. So Sanjay, very, very quickly, do you feel, obviously, the industry, the media and entertainment industry, as well as many others, of course, has been very much caught unaware by COVID-19. So has there ever been like any sort of crisis management plan in place for the industry for something like this? And do you think, Sanjay, that what do you think is going to be the biggest takeaway? What's going to be the biggest sort of learning experience from post COVID-19?
To be honest, nobody predicted this will happen. In Jan and Feb and March, we as a network did fantastically well, and I'm told the other networks in the region also did as well. Q1 was very good for everybody, be it newspapers, radio, television, since we have all the assets in Abu Dhabi. And I'm told even the streaming services, when you look at international services, who, especially only Netflix, they give out their numbers because they are a listed company. They were all adding 6 million, 7 million, 10 million a quarter. So everything looked rosy and hunky-dory. It's just that now we are all faced with this unforeseen situation. And the worst part is nobody knows how long it's going to take. Will this situation remain? I don't think so, because life is all about troughs and curves, right? You go up, you go down, you go up, you go down. So some fine day, this thing will move on and life will come back to normal. Will this surge in the number of people watching content either on streaming services or linear remain for long? Never. It's going to normalize itself. That's how television life is. You can't watch continuously for 12 months a year, 365 days a year, 5.4 hours of programming. It's impossible. You don't have time, right? There isn't a large universe like that available. So everything will get normalized. But the point is, what are we going to learn out of this? And that's very critical. I think we are going to learn two things. One is how much enough is enough. What the customer doesn't know, the customer doesn't know. It's a very old adage. What I don't know, right? I don't know what I don't know. It's a very old adage. If we take that as an adage and start implementing that, I would suggest people who are digitally driven, and even some of the linear networks are integrating a lot of digital into their way of work. I think it's time to understand the customer. So the amount of content that is being consumed by AI logarithms, by a lot of tools of churn management, it's very important at this stage to understand what kind of content is getting consumed. It will be a big direction for the future. It may be that consumers are watching more documentaries during a period when the life has come to a standstill, or watching news, or watching other sports. I'm saying that is already known, but if you go to the finer details using your AI tools, this is the opportunity for a lot of networks, both streaming and non-streaming, to understand this customer a little better. And then the madness of 20,000 hours and 40,000 hours and 80,000 hours and making the customer wait for their new production all the time, that's gonna go. You may probably relook at your digital networks from a linear perspective. Remember, television channels were run with 500 or 700 hours a year, or at max 1,500 hours a year. And that would drive the whole frenzy amongst the audiences. So these to my mind are some of the most important perspectives. You will get to know your customer. If you talk of streaming services, churn is still at 25-30%. Linear churn used to be at the max 10%. How do streaming services bring that churn down from 25% to a plausible 10%? That's how the pay industry metrics have been all along. I mean, a matured pay market has 10% churn, but a streaming service currently has 25-30% churn, which is massive. That's why you need those millions of people to keep signing in, because remember, you're losing 25% of them all the time, right? That doesn't happen on linear networks, thankfully, because these are all free-to-air networks. So great lesson for streaming services. How do I get in my churn management perspective down by understanding the customer? What does he or she want? And as Zara was saying, time for a lot of networks to integrate what the customer wants. If the customer wants e-commerce through the same service, better give it to him, because he's otherwise going somewhere else, right? So a shoe and a polish are never sold on the same store, was an old adage, till we found the polishes being dispensed at the cash counters. So you will have to imbibe the shoe and the polish technology across this. Nobody knows how long this is going to remain. We are all going to remain in business. Networks are going to remain in business. Time to think smart, time to think very forward. That's all I'm saying.
Great advice there. Thank you so much. Quickly turn to gaming until we before we move to our next poll. Saeed, do you think with this spike in gaming, do you feel that sometimes the industry can be a bit more focused on its profit margins, and in turn sometimes ignoring the mental health of gamers, because obviously you're dealing with the youth as well, and there's a lot of appetite, as you mentioned, at the moment as well. Also, what's the biggest takeaway for the gaming industry off the back of COVID-19? Very quickly before we move on.
Well, as gaming industry is $160 billion, which is like more than the movies and music combined. So definitely companies and investors are looking just to get the most out of it in terms of profit. But this doesn't mean that the health is completely ignored. However, such initiatives will not come from the game publishers. Maybe it will come from national communities of esport, might come from streaming platforms, from teams who can, let's say, create some charitable stream or tournament where the prize pool can go to support healthcare or support solving problems for the virus. Other initiatives might include some physical activities. So some content creators use trade mail, so they are streaming themselves running, and the more people come on board, they will multiply the amount that they will donate for a cause, like for World Health Organization or something. Also, Saudi government created a new initiative called Harrik Halaf, or like Move It On. So it's about playing video game and doing some push-up and sport at home, so then you can rank up in the ladder. So there is some initiatives like this, but again, this is something mainly based about the awareness of the individual. It's not gonna come from the publisher, it's not gonna come from the brands, it's gonna come from the players themselves.
Well, that's very good to know there's some nice initiatives underway, and you do think about, you know, your gamer, the end user as well. That's really good to know. Right, we're going to move on now to our second poll. We move over now to our audience, to our attendees. We're going to pop that poll up. Very quick on this one. Will consumers retain traditional pay TV services? Yes or no? Just a simple yes or no. Will consumers retain traditional pay TV services, do you think? Let's give you a couple of seconds and we will see what you guys think. Okay, let's have a look and see what your answers are. Oh, wow, it's pretty much even. 51% say yes and 49% say no. Very interesting.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer for those who used to write epitaphs about pay television.
It's very expected.
I used to shout from rooftops all the time. Nothing goes dead. It's the customer just changes his perspectives a little bit.
Yeah, there you go. Very quickly, because we would, of course, love to speak to our attendees. Right, Nadine, it is, of course, Ramadan. You mentioned Ramadan just a few moments ago as well, which is, of course, is very popular in itself when it comes to viewership. So what are you doing in order to increase viewership during this very tough, competitive month? And what sort of strategy have you got in place as well?
I think the COVID-19 itself, more than Ramadan impact, is massive on all of the industries. I think we all don't know when it's going to end, and we don't know for sure what's going to be the impact, but there's going to be an impact. So I'll tell you from my perspective what I see. I see that there are lots of new changes that's going to be happening on the streaming industry, whether it is from looking at the partnerships or looking at the distribution side of things. I think it's going to be a bit different. I think people are going to be more open to collaborations. I see that people who are like really away or shy from collaborating with other, big brand names and so on and so forth, they would come forward and start looking into collaborations. They will open up, they will try new things. And this is something that would be interesting to see happening. On the content side, things also might change. Content collaboration initiatives will happen. With Wayak, we already starting this year, we have done interesting content collaboration deal with Ru'ya TV. Now, most of the Ru'ya content currently is on Wayak. So if you go to Wayak, you'll see a specific carousel just for Ru'ya content. You'll see also a landing page for their content where you can enjoy, I think, more than 80 titles from their library as well. So I think that we're going to see a lot of these things coming up. When it comes to Wayak, and innovation in particular, there are lots of things that we think about, whether from features perspective on the platform, things that we thought previously that probably not very necessary. Nowadays, it's more demanding. We want them to be there. More collaborations with hardware providers and handset providers might happen. More collaborations with telcos on different levels. Previously on the DCB side, we've been very active, and we are available through different providers in many regions, and especially that the Wayak is global. We are also in UK, as an example, provided through all of the telcos there. You can subscribe through your mobile. I see that all of these initiatives are going to grow, and we'll see a lot of more of these deals happening across the world. It will make these things faster. I already saw it with some of our pre-existing deals and contracts that has been done, but from an integration perspective, they were like, steadily, slowly being done. I see that they are being now faster and faster getting implemented, starting last month and this month. And I think what would really play in favor of all of the digital businesses is the word digital, being able to do the same work remotely. So from my team's perspective, as an example, we continue to do the same work from a business continuity perspective, despite the issues that we got from the content delays and stuff like this. It's exactly the same work, whether it's on social media, whether from a content perspective, advertising, promos, everything, business as is, even we didn't even need to go to plan B. So I think from that perspective, it really helps all of the digital businesses, even when it comes to these integrations that I'm telling you about. Being away from offices, still the technology teams are still working from home, the development teams are still working from home to deliver all of these initiatives.
Well, it's really amazing how businesses have come together. You know, everyone's had to, you know, change the dynamic, but it can be done. We've just shown everyone, you know, so thank you for those insights. Really, really excellent. Right, we are moving on now to some of our questions from our audience. Right now we have a top 3. Here we go. So the top question that's been upvoted for our panel to answer: what sort of creative innovation are you working on at the moment to continue to direct, retain, and encourage audiences to your platforms? I think each one of you can answer this, but very quickly, and just wrap it up in a couple of minutes, just so we can get through a couple more. What sort of creative innovation are you working on to direct, retain, and encourage audiences to your platform, Zahra?
Yeah, from our side, recently we were able to successfully onboard Disney Plus on our platform exclusively. So Disney Plus came on our platform on the 2nd of April, exclusively in the Middle East. This by itself has produced a spike of 30% on viewership on the first week itself, and the increase in viewership continues till now. So despite the fact that we are in Ramadan. So what we have seen in the market, we've seen that there is Netflix fatigue in the market. Yes, everybody has Netflix, but people are still looking for more. They're hungry for more. So they're looking for other platforms. And what we've done, we've become a super aggregator in the market. We've consolidated a lot of international brands exclusively, from HBO to Disney Plus, Pixar, Disney, Paramount, MGM, and the majority of the major Hollywood studios. So this has really given us a competitive edge. Now people know that if there is new content coming up, they know where to find it, and they know that OSN is home for new content at a very, very affordable pricing point. So between Disney Plus, HBO, and all of the others, in addition to kids and documentary and Arabic, we've literally catered for all segments in the market. And but we need to continue to engage with customers. We need to continue to speak to them the way they want us to speak to them. We need to improve our digital capabilities and utilize more machine learning to understand more about their viewing behavior and their appetite, to be able to keep them on the platform. But again, to keep everybody there, it's content, it's localization, being able to tackle to each of the markets that we serve, and each one of them is different, in addition to mode of payment. So bringing customers as well on board is not easy, because not everybody is comfortable utilizing his credit card. So we utilize different modes of payment, and we're getting creative on that, between the utilization of cash and direct carrier billing, and you know, bundling opportunities with the telcos, and partnerships with the different institutions in the country, apart from telcos. So it's really engaging with a customer, on different fronts, understanding his behavior, delivering superior content, and exclusivity plays an important role here in acquisition, and localization, and being able to allow the customer to pay in the way he wants us to pay.
Does anyone want to very quickly add to that? I mean, we have sort of touched on that a little earlier. Does anyone else want to quickly say a few words before we move on? We all good? Yes, because this next question is good. Congratulations, by the way, on Disney Plus originals. It's very good. My kids love it. So yes, next question. Lockdown forces viewing rates up artificially and temporarily. What's your most critical takeaway that fundamentally will change your programming strategy?
Oh, this is what I was just referring to some time back. The point is to go back and see what do I have in my library, because most of these networks are around for a very long time. You got to always plan to have a plan B, as they say in all such circumstances. So do I have, and when I say I don't mean I personally, I mean all the people in the industry who run this business. Do we have enough content in our site? Do we have enough consumer insight on our mind? So that's an advantage which some of the digital networks have because of all the AI logarithmic tools that they employ, and hence get all the customer feedback. And if you marry that together, you will be able to sustain yourself, because do understand, 20,000 hours, 30,000 hours of programming on a network will take you 20,000 literally days to consume, and that's a lot of days, right? So we need to stop thinking that the customer wants everything new, because the industry is facing an issue. The production industry is facing an issue. Actors are out of work. Screenplay writers are out of work. Nobody is producing anything. Production houses are kind of vacant currently. So how does a television network, or any network for that matter, any consumer facing network, be it paid, unpaid, streaming, non-streaming, how does it kind of blurt itself out and say, I still have content? I gave you an example from India. That example can travel around the world, because globally, consuming audiences are the same. They want something to fascinate them while they are watching it. Simple. That's the basis for television. Whether you want to watch it on an iPod, iPad, wherever you want to watch it. Watch content that kind of fascinates them. So bring out whatever you have, rechurn it, save yourself for the rainy day, have a plan B, which we are all trying to do right now, and just hope that this situation kind of improves itself. Yeah. I think one of the biggest takeaways will be, two biggest takeaways to my mind, in the streaming services world, which is now kind of overtaken, at least mentally, the whole television industry, is either I go and grab everything that is available there, for which I have to pay top dollars, or I become intelligent and use what I have currently and do it well. These are the only two scenarios.
Who would like to jump on the back of that then?
Sorry?
Would anyone else like to sort of add to that before we move on to our next upvoted question? Yes,
I totally agree with Sanjay. I think there are no much choices anyway for the streaming providers or even the linear TV. I mean, we've seen already the impact, and I see lots of questions actually talking about the production and what has been the impact on production after the COVID-19. Lots of companies have stopped producing, and accordingly, there is no new content, and that really impacted most of the TV channels and the streaming services during Ramadan. Because normally Ramadan is the month where you get all of your Arabic fresh content per se. So there has been a less number of content available in the market, and everyone started, to fight for that content, to have it either exclusively or as a second run. Most of the people wanted as a second run, just give me a new content. That's what has been going on during the past 2 months, right? But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, there are some facts that we need to act upon them and see if this is the case. Then it's not worth it. It's just like just looking for some of the content was shot very, very quickly just because of the COVID-19, and some of the series were shortened into 10 episodes, which is not really what the user is used to. Some of the content is shortened to 15 episodes. Like, I talk to people and they're telling me I'm watching this content and I'm saying, do you know that this is only 15 episodes? And they were like, what? It's going to end in 2 days? I'm like, yeah, in mid of Ramadan it's going to end, and then you're going to start looking for some other type of content. So we are in challenging times. We are in difficult times for everyone, whether streaming or TV. And we really need to find innovative ways to handle this scenario. And I believe the challenge is very important for our industry and for streaming and digital streaming in particular, to make a differentiation in the market. And there are plenty of ideas which are there that is ready for us to explore and try. So I'm very hopeful, despite the challenges. I'm very hopeful with all of the innovative and creative ideas that we can do together in order to overcome this tough times.
And Laura, just to add in there very shortly, I think the biggest teacher for all of us is already in the room, not physically, but somewhere around us. And we consume a lot of that thing, which I'm going to name very soon, every day. And that's YouTube, right? That's a big teacher for all of us. How do we know what new productions have come on YouTube? We don't. We never go to YouTube and type what is new. We type, how do I do this? Can I find this? Can I find a movie? If people, and millions of people, billions rather, are consuming YouTube on an annualized basis and making them make a lot of money. If YouTube can sustain with no concept of originals and new, although they have added those sections, I'm aware, premium and all of that. But if YouTube can sustain itself on a plethora of content that gets uploaded, why can't streaming and linear networks do the same? What is so different about it? People don't go, as I said, people consume content for the same thing. Is it giving me value? Am I getting fascinated? And if that thing is a success, it should be a clear teacher to all of us.
Very, very good point there. We're just going to move on to our final question, and then we're going to have to wrap things up, I'm afraid. It's been an hour. It's gone very, very quickly, but our last question is from Joseph Husseini from Lebanon. Ramadan Kareem, he says, when will we be watching premium original content on SVOD and OTT platforms in the MENA region, not just regular exclusives made for TV content? Paying customers need originals in terms of production values and subjects. Would anyone else like to comment on that? Joseph Hussein.
If I may say hi to Joseph. Nice to have you here, Joseph. I agree with you. I mean, most of the VOD platforms nowadays, they look at original productions, and some of them have been already producing content and release them in Ramadan as well. We were one of the VODs who planned for an original content to be released in Ramadan. It didn't happen because of the COVID-19, so we had to take a tough decision to postpone the shooting to maintain the quality that we wanted till after this period of time. On the other side of the story, on Wayak, we have original content that is coming from Z5. Being part of the Z Entertainment, we create or we produce content with a very high quality just for digital. We already have now got around 8 to 10 titles on Wayak that is original production for digital only. And it is available with us right now. It's Indian content that is subtitled into Arabic. Our subscribers can go there. It's called Al-Baqa Al-Mumayyaza. And then people can go to that carousel and then watch that specific content. But I totally agree with you. I think all of the OTTs are going, that's part of their strategies. Now, whether this strategy is going to be impacted or not in this year, I believe that it's definitely going to be impacted for everyone. Especially, I see that lots of budgets which has been allocated for the productions might be impacted in particular.
Brilliant. And would anyone like to add to that very quickly? Yes.
If I may comment quickly. Joseph, this is a dream for everybody to produce premium original content. Now we see a lot of productions in the market, but whether it's to the standard of what we have coming from Hollywood, that's a different question. I guess what most of the OTT providers have been focusing on is the aspect of monetization, which is crucial when you want to produce original content and premium one, costing you so much money. You need to be able to monetize it. And production is about culture. So far, we haven't seen someone who's been able to really produce really premium content in the Middle East or in the Arabic space. However, we see a lot of significant improvement in that field, and we see a lot of companies stepping up, producing really good content, hopefully on the right path, to get to the level of the premium standard that we would want it to be. But I believe all of us now realize that to be successful, you shouldn't be dependent on others to aggregate and get the content. It has to be a healthy balance between licensing content from others, and then at the same time producing your own content.
Brilliant. Very sadly, that's all we've got time for. It's gone so quickly, but thank you so much to each and every one of you for joining us, and thank you so much to our panel for your insights and your forecasts and sharing your knowledge so openly with us. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We really do hope that you all have had an insightful experience. As we mentioned, this is the first of many of our live webinars as well. So we really do hope to see you at the next ones. Please do keep an eye out for the dates on those. And we really do hope to see you on the 26th to the 28th of October at the Dubai World Trade Center. Let's hope that still goes ahead. That's when CABSAT, the leading show for the broadcast, satellite and content industry, should be going ahead. In the meantime, please do email us at CABSAT@dwtc.com, and please do feel free to continue the conversation on your social media channels. Our handle is CABSAT.official. And yes, so we'll see you at the next CABSAT.virtual live webinar. My name is Laura Buckwell, and it's been a pleasure to be your moderator. Thank you very much.